As musicians, we study music in the pursuit of getting better at making music. A huge part of that involves learning what we can from those we consider great musicians. We look to great artists and great songs and try to understand what makes them so great and use that understanding to further our own musicianship. And that's all great. I think we should absolutely do that. But what about bad music? If you didn't know, I used to be an adjunct music professor. One of the classes I taught was Intro to Music, formerly known as Music Appreciation, which is just like a general Western music history elective that fulfills a gen ed requirement for non-music majors. In that class, you go over the usual stuff, all the big names in the history of Western music from the Middle Ages to modern day, Bach, Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven, Stravinsky, etc. I spent a lot of time talking about why the music from those composers is so good. But in one class, I had a student ask, were there any composers that just, sucked? And it made me realize, we don't really spend time talking about bad composers. So naturally, we Googled worst composers of all time and turned up a guy by the name of Frantisek Kotzwara. I'm almost certainly not pronouncing that correctly. This guy is apparently considered one of the worst composers ever, but he's actually now more famous for how he died. I'll spare you the details because it's really, something. You can look it up if you want, but basically he's one of the first people known to have died of erotic asphyxiation. Anyway, his most famous composition is a piano piece titled The Battle of Prague. It was apparently modestly popular when it was first published, but it has not stood the test of time. So I think a lot about what makes music good. Probably most people believe that quality is subjective in music and the arts. Whether or not something is good is just like your opinion, man. And there's no accounting for taste, but I do believe that it's possible for music to be objectively bad, which means there are certain creative choices that are right or wrong. It's almost like famously bad movies like The Room. You could watch any scene in that movie and somehow every single creative decision that was made was the wrong one. It's like a study of what not to do. Therefore, it should be possible to determine what makes something like this Battle of Prague piece terrible. So I guess this is going to be something of a reaction video. Rick Beato is known for his What Makes This Song Great series, so maybe this is my first episode of What Makes This Song Bad. So I downloaded a MIDI sequence of this thing and I loaded it into Finale. Some of the notation got misinterpreted by the software, but the performance data is pretty good, and that's really all I care about. Here we go. Oh god, we're repeating. Okay, so that much so far. It's really uninteresting. There's this idea in classical music specifically of antecedent and consequent phrases where you have one phrase that ends on an unresolved harmony and then a phrase that follows it that ends on a resolved harmony. It's like asking a question and then answering that question. That's a really basic thing in classical composition, and he's not even doing it. It makes it sound like the music's not going anywhere, especially because he repeated that whole opening bit. All right, let's continue. Oh, we're on the 5 chord. And back to 1. Oh my god, we're repeating again. A lot of march rhythms, which makes sense because it's the Battle of Prague. I'm sorry, this triplet is not breaking up that texture at all. It seems like a half-hearted attempt at contrast. It's like charge. That is so cheesy. I mean, clearly it's supposed to be like bugles and trumpets signaling the charge ahead, right? Feels like it goes on a little too long. Oh, we're still doing it. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Oh my god. Oh, I guess the battle has started. Sounds a bit jolly. Whoa, wait. Oh. I think that's the first minor chord we've had in the whole piece. Okay, so it kind of sounds like a bad parody of Mozart. None of the melodies have any character or definition to them. It's like every melody is either running up and down a scale or it's an arpeggio. A good melody is not just running up and down a scale. You've got to have little leaps in there. It's usually like a careful combination of stepwise stuff and leaps. He's just doing one or the other here. And also this accompaniment is just like this Alberti bass thing, this boo-da-dee-da, boo-da-dee-da, boo-da-dee-da. He's not breaking that texture at all. Yeah, so far what this thing is missing is contrast. It sounds altogether way too jolly for the Battle of Prague. More scales. Okay. Yeah, there was not a single leap in that melody. It's just entirely going up and down scales. All right, let's back up to this like horse galloping thing, whatever this was. Oh. Ah. Okay, we got some new accompaniment here. Triplets. Oh my god, we're doing this again. Okay. This is the most contrast we've had so far. He's moved a lot of the melodic content to the left hand, which is good. But now where I just paused, he's kind of stopped doing that, and it's like too little too late at this point. It's just arpeggios. That's all it is. Yeah, okay. Oh my god, we're doing the trumpet thing again. Okay. Well, see, this is interesting. This is a little bit different. Yeah, so far everything's been in F major or C major, which is just the key of the dominant, and that's pretty typical for music of this time period. Here he goes to F minor, the parallel minor. It's spelled stupidly with this double flat here. That's the software, not him. But he gets there and he stays there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 10, 11 bars, and he's back in F major already. And then here it looks like we're just going to do more of this stupid bugle thing. Yep. And now we're going to arpeggiate F major to death. Yeah. And okay. And now God Save the Queen. Great. It's pretty vanilla. Yeah, this guy does not hold back on the repetitions, does he? We hear something once, so what do we have to do? We gotta hear it again. Whenever I'm playing classical or Baroque music on the guitar and there's repeats in the music, I tend to just ignore them. Like, we just heard this entire section of music. Why do we need to hear it again? How is the experience going to be enhanced by taking an entire section of music and playing it again immediately? It's one thing if you go somewhere else and come back to it, verse, chorus, or whatever. Why do we need to repeat it again? And why do we need to do it with, like, everything in this piece? Too many repeats. All right, I think we're kind of close to the end here. Let's see where we go. Sounds like theory homework. It's like he doesn't know how to change harmonies. Secondary dominants, that's what he's missing. There's hardly any moments where he tonicizes something other than the one chord. For music of this time period, that's like an extremely amateur thing. This music just sounds boring, like it's not going anywhere, and that's why, because it's not going anywhere. He's just hammering on the one chord so much. Not enough contrast. Start the next phrase on the 5 chord. We're on the 5 chord, yada yada. And we're back to the 1 chord. Okay. Oh my god. We're seriously doing this again? Okay, and we're back to this jolly little thing. That's it? Wow, okay. So yeah, in my professional opinion, that's not very good music. There's too much repetition of the same stuff. There's very little contrast in the things he does do. It sounds altogether way too excited and happy to be depicting a battle. All the melodies suck. There's nothing interesting about them because they're just so mechanical. The harmony is like stagnant. It sounds like a music theory student's homework. It just goes on way too long for how little contrast there is. I mean, this is depicting the Battle of Prague. Like, you would think he would change keys and have some harmonically unstable stuff happening for long periods of time. No, he's just spending a lot of time hanging out in F major. Boring, repetitive, and what little contrast there is just, it's not saving him. So lessons learned: repetition is good in music, but too much repetition is boring. Composition 101, if you do something twice, you can keep it the same, but if you're going to do it 3 times, you gotta change something about it. Really, if you're going to do it twice, you should change something. That's called development. That's taking your ideas and developing them. Recontextualizing the ideas you present in music is what keeps the music interesting. Kotzwara is not doing that here. He's just kind of presenting idea after idea after idea and not developing any of them. And the fact that all of the ideas are basically in the same key with very little harmonic movement and no melodies that are interesting just makes it all worse. So yes, I think this piece is, in fact, objectively bad. And I think even anyone who hasn't studied music would agree that it's really boring, even if they can't explain specifically what makes it so. So, in conclusion, we can learn a lot by studying bad music, just as we can learn a lot by studying great music. I don't know if I'll actually make more "What Makes This Song Bad" videos, but I'd love to hear what you think of the Battle of Prague, and maybe some songs that you think are objectively bad, or songs you think are objectively good. We don't need to be totally negative. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a new video out every Thursday. I have openings for private Zoom students right now. If that's of interest to you, feel free to message me. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.